Today what we're making is what I call Mom's Brownies. I don't know where this recipe came from. My mother made this when I was a child, and I'm not a child anymore, so it's been around a long time, and I'm sure you can find versions of this all over the internet, and I'm just going to show you how very quick and easy Mom's Brownies come together, and they're fantastic. So let's go. As per usual, we always pull out all our ingredients to make sure we're all ready to go. So we need 1 cup of butter, or 227 grams. That would normally be in the US, it would be 2 sticks of butter. I'm in Canada, we don't have sticks of butter, so I'm going to weigh this out. But if you're in the US, it'd be 2 sticks of butter. We need sugar, and the other things we need here, we need some flour, we need some cocoa, we need some salt, and we need some vanilla, and we need eggs. So now that we've got all our ingredients out, and there's not very many ingredients, that's what's also great. You could throw nuts or chocolate chips in this, but I don't think they need it, and I don't bother because we're going for super simple. We want to now review our recipe and see what things we need to have ready. We need to preheat our oven to 350, so I'm going to go do that. You want to preheat your oven to 350 and make sure the rack is in the middle position. Next, we want to spray our pan. We use a 9x13 oblong pan. If you don't have this size, you could split it into 2 or make cake pans. So it's very flexible that way. And we're going to spray it with some cooking spray. Always over the sink to cut down on our mess. And we'll put it over to the side until we're ready to use it. So what else do we need for this? It says whisk, flour, cocoa, and salt. So we're going to need a whisk, and we're going to need something to put it in. So let me grab my whisk. And it says we're going to mix also dry ingredients. So I'm going to need a dry bowl and a wet bowl. This is very common in recipes. You have one for dry, one for wet. My usual old-time favorites. And it says we're going to be using our electric mixer. You can do this by hand, or you can do it in a stand mixer. By hand, it's going to take longer. The electric mixer is more lightweight and quicker and fast. But if you don't have it, you know what to do. Do our weighing, so we need our scale. As frequent viewers know, I love the scale. If you don't, I'll also have the volume measurements in the recipe below, as will the entire recipe be below, so you can find everything there. We are going to need a 1/2 teaspoon for the salt and a 1 teaspoon for the vanilla. I think we have everything together, so we can get going. Again, as usual, this might seem like a bit of a mess, but what you're going to see is it comes together really well. So what we need first is 142 grams of flour. There we go. And as always, we put everything away as we go so that we make sure we didn't forget anything. The next thing that we need is 57 grams of cocoa, and this is where the weighing really pays off because cocoa is super messy. So, and because we're putting it on top and we don't want to, if we have to get some out, we put it in a pile so we can get any out if we put too much in. There we go. You might be surprised that cocoa is the only chocolate going into it, and you think I need hard chocolate or chocolate chips to make it super chocolatey. That is not true. Cocoa is what makes it very chocolatey. And we've got our 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And this is just regular table salt. So now we just want to whisk it up so that the cocoa and the flour are all mixed together. And it does take a little bit of mixing, as you can see. And once you can see that the flour is starting to get into it, we're good to go. And now let's work on our wet ingredients. And this is where we have our butter. Your butter has to be soft. if you don't have soft butter and because you really need it. You can try some softening techniques, and I will link below softening butter that isn't at room temperature. So we need 227 degrees, and that's probably half of this. There we go. The rest of this I will wrap up and put right in my fridge. No, I'm not putting it in the fridge because I'm going to use it to make some icing, which is optional, but in my book it's not optional. And now we would need to weigh our sugar. And we need almost 500 grams of sugar. It's a big brownie and it is sweet. And there we go. Now we're done with our scale. No more weighing, and we need 4 eggs. There is our oven all ready to go. So now we use our electric mixer to mix these. So I'm going to put on some music so you don't have to listen to the sound of it. Okay, so that's all mixed in, and you can, I'll give you a look at it here. So this is what it looks like. It's not completely smooth, it doesn't need to be. What we need to do now is we need to get our wooden spoon, and we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So then we're just going to lightly mix that in. And so now we have our wet, and we're going to take our dry and just mix it in until there's no flour or cocoa dry looking. Okay, there we go. And now we just stir it. And once this is mixed in, that was everything what we needed to do. So as you can see, just a few ingredients and excellent brownies. And you might at the beginning think it's not mixing in, but it is. It just takes a little bit of stirring. And then it starts to really come together and you go, oh, there we go. There we go, it's all mixed in. And if you see little blobs of butter, don't worry about it, it's going to be just fine. So let's grab our pan. Get as much as you can out of there. Now it's going to look like there's not enough, but just spread it out into the corners. And you might find this a little bit tricky with the cooking spray as it tries to repel, but just push it a couple times and it will get there. Okay, it's evened out. And now it goes into the oven for about 25 minutes. So we'll see you in 25 minutes. All cleaned up. Okay, there's our 25-minute timer. We'll just turn it off. And I've got my oven mitt, and let's have a look and see what we've got. Now, we aren't going to use a toothpick to check it because we want it to be gooey inside, but it's cracking on top but it's still a little soft. I'm going to give it another 3 minutes, so I'll be back in 3. Okay, there's our 3 minutes. You want to do it at a 2 or 3 minute interval because you don't want to overcook brownies. So let's have a look here, and oh, that's what we're going for. It is cooked on the top. I can see inside there's a little bit of goo, and that's what we're going for. So now all we do is put it on somewhere it can sit in the pan until it's completely cooled. We've got it sitting right there. So now that our brownies are cooling, I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is the brownies are going to be fantastic. The bad news is we have to wait till they're completely cooled. And frankly, I think they need to wait to be overnight. You can eat them later in the day. They're still going to be excellent. But they really do well being overnight, and really that moisture goes all through them, and the gooey and the greatness. So wait, the good news about that is this is an excellent make ahead. They're great to eat straight out of the pan, but I'll also be adding in an icing at the end called Incredible Chocolate Icing, which it is. So stay tuned and we'll see you tomorrow because I'm going to wait for mine to be overnight. Okay, we have patiently waited overnight, and now I'm going to show you a great icing to add. You absolutely don't have to do this. The brownies turn out great and moist and delicious just the way they are plain, or you could add some ice cream or some powdered sugar on top. But if you really want to amp up your game, this is called Incredible Chocolate Icing, and I want to show you this recipe. To save time, I've pulled out all the ingredients. So we're going to need some butter, some cocoa, some milk, icing sugar, vanilla, some hot coffee. I think that's it. Okay, and I've also pulled out my tools. We're going to make this in a food processor. You can do it in electric mixer or hand mixing, but it's just not going to be the same. I've tried. So if you've got a food processor, that's your best bet. Otherwise, use what you've got. I've got my scale, I've got a whisk, I've got a bowl. Let's get started. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure our ingredients. So we're going to measure our butter. We need a 1/2 cup, which would be 1 stick if you live in the US, but we don't have that, so I have to measure out. And I'm going to weigh out 113 grams. And there we go, 113 grams. And now we'll just pop this into the food processor. The next ingredient we need is 1 cup of icing sugar, or 113 grams. And I'm definitely weighing this. The reason is icing sugar is super messy. It goes everywhere, even with a measuring cup. And this is a great cleaning and time saving and frustration saving. So we need 113 grams. You can already see it's poofing up. Even when I'm trying, it still goes everywhere. Okay. I think this is a reason people don't like using icing sugar and make icing, because it's very messy. At least with the scale, it's a little bit less messy. The next ingredient that we need is our cocoa, which is also super messy. It fluffs and puffs and goes everywhere. And we need 58 grams. As usual, I'm making it in a pile if I have to fish any out if I overweigh. Here we go. This is where our whisk comes in. You often want to sift it because both icing sugar and cocoa have lumps in them, and you don't want those lumps. They will not go away no matter what you do in your food processor. They will never go away. So just use the whisk and for just a few seconds here, and we'll get it going. And we can put this into our food processor. And we're all done with weighing. So So now what we want to do is we want to blend this for just a few seconds. I think the recipe tells us how many, 4 seconds. So we just do 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. And now we add all our remaining ingredients, which are 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 2 tablespoons each of milk and hot coffee. You can use any type of milk at all, that doesn't matter. I think this is 1%, but you can use whatever type of milk you have, and if it's cream or whipping cream, you can use those as well too. If you don't have coffee, you could make yourself a cup of coffee and pull out 2 tablespoons. If you don't drink coffee or don't like coffee, you can't taste it. It really just brings out the chocolatiness of it. So I have friends that don't like coffee, but they certainly love this icing, so that's a good recommendation. If you can't drink it, what you can substitute in is just 2 tablespoons of warm water, because it's going to help the whole thing emulsify when it's in the food processor. And you can see I'm being very brave. I'm pouring it directly over this bowl. Close enough is good enough. And now we are just going to mix it until it's smooth. And we're going to sort of pulse it using our pulsing. Let's have a look and see what we've got. I'm going to grab my spatula and push down some of the dry ingredients that kind of got flipped up during the processing. Okay, that looks good. Now, if it seems too thick for you, you can always add a little bit more milk, but let me have a look, and this looks so rich and creamy. I'll have a little taste. Oh. I always surprise myself every time I make it how good it is. It's fantastic, and it really complements the brownies. As you can see, despite all my plans to be clean and neat, I still get the cocoa powder and the icing sugar everywhere. It's just, it is what it is. So don't be frustrated if you have the same problem too. Okay, now let's ice the brownies. So yesterday when you made your brownies, once they've cooled to room temperature, you want to wrap them in saran wrap or tin foil, or I have this kind of handy lid. And there we go. And this is what it looked like. Those cracks means goo. And these will be so moist and yummy. It's fantastic. We are going to scoop all the icing out onto our brownie. Chocolate is good, but it is messy and gets everywhere. If you notice there's a few dry spots of cocoa powder or icing sugar, don't worry. Just mix it in on the top of the brownies. This is going to produce a very, very thin layer because this is super rich. So we just use the same spatula to spread it out very thin. Do not be tempted to double this recipe thinking it's too thin. Try it first. It's ample amping up of the brownies. So there you go. We have these brownies. Now we're going to cut into them. Okay, now let's cut into the brownies. I leave them in the pan. You can pull it out if you're needing to, but I just cut around the edges with a regular dinner knife, because it may have stuck in this one spot. There we go. And we'll just cut, and you cut whatever size. They're quite rich, And it depends if you're snacking, eating, want to eat them all, but you can see, you can just cut into it. Some people prefer not to have the wedges or the, the edges, but I like them. They get even denser. So I've got a plate here. First one's always fun to get out, but let's see how we do. Oh, these are so moist. You can see how yummy and moist and gooey it is. So that's all there is to it. I hope you'll try these brownies with or without the icing and let me know how it goes, and good luck. It's a winner every time.